All right, Dan. This is a little harder than it looks. I'll give that to you. All right, here we go. Oh, that was bad. Dan and Slick, a podcast, episode 24. Dan, how are we doing?
We're doing well, Will. We're doing well. Sunday, baby. Film on Sunday.
Time to rip. All right. So where am I wrong, Dan? We've seen, a lot of different countries. If you ever visit them, they have usually a traditional garb, a lot of history associated with the country. I think that's something that's just we're never going to see again. I don't think there's going to be any new traditions arising out of a global, connected world. I think things just change too quickly. Where am I wrong here?
The tradition question. I think that traditions are so deeply rooted in people, and we need a specific framework on which to build. That if we don't have traditions, then we're not going to be able to function as well as we could as a society. I understand the inkling to go that route based on the iteration of technology around so many different, the influences are really exponential from fashion to the way we consume information. But we need tradition. Tradition isn't going anywhere, even if the tradition is not to have tradition.
So maybe it's something that we'll still create traditions, but it won't be just like the variable that creates the tradition is not the time it's been around. I feel like a lot of traditions are just like we've always done it this way. Maybe the tradition.
Yeah.
How are traditions made going forward? If it's not based on it's just been around for a while.
Yeah, so I'm thinking what will holidays look like in 150 years? And that was one of the first things that kind of jumped to me. I don't see things like holidays going anywhere.
I don't see I don't see new fashion thing, like any sort of clothing or trend like that becoming traditional. Like I don't see any new sort of traditional garments at some point were new and then they just stuck for like hundreds of years. I just don't think that's like a thing anymore.
Yeah,
I don't think new things are going to stick and last the way they were able to in the past.
Yeah, as far as like the men's suit or the women's dress, I guess there's only so many options that you have for fashion. And yeah, things are going to. It's interesting because it's like generations are smaller, shorter too now. So it's like they used to be 50, it seems like we have a lot of differences from folks who are 5 years older than us, and it's just continuing to increase exponentially in that way. So I like that.
Traditions are tricky. All right, logical fallacy time, Dan. Hit me.
Logical fallacy. This is inspired from my trip yesterday around San Francisco with my dear cousin. Thank you, Mike. Still love you, man. But we almost got in probably 5 car accidents driving around Golden Gate Park and the Presidio. I was like, Mike, what are we doing, man? And his argument back to me was, I'm a good driver. I've never been in an accident. Where's the fallacy here?
Right. So I guess it's something making an argument from limited data, or maybe making an argument of personal experience or something like that. I'm not sure what exactly would be called, but maybe I don't know, what's the fancy Latin name for that?
It's tough to when you get put on the spot, right? Well, I think I've gotten 1 out of 24, 25. The Latin, argumentum ad consequentium. Just nailed it. Argument from consequences. Yeah. So it's the outcome is positive, so therefore the actions must be
aligned.
Aligned, right? But it's you can definitely be a bad driver and not get in a car accident. You can be in the right lane, cause a flood of traffic, and be incredibly, I think that you want to be assertive as a driver. And that's what you look for. You got to take some risk. You want to take some calculated risk as a driver. You can't just be if you stop, every 2 meters, then that's not great.
That's interesting. I think a lot of people do, especially in the kind of comfortable society we live in. There's a lot of wiggle room to make those kinds of arguments all the time. Just oh, well, nothing bad's happened to me yet, so it must be fine.
Right. Yeah. You definitely see them a lot. I know we've tested this in I can't remember the exact example you used for appeal to consequences.
Actually, I have a bit of a non sequitur, which fits right into logical fallacies. Okay, so there have been more car crashes during quarantine. Do you know why?
Really?
Yeah, so the reason that there have been more car crashes is that the most risk-averse people, guess what they're not doing? Driving. And so all the risk-averse people are on the roads, and they're empty, and so they're taking lots of risks driving. Isn't that funny?
That's funny. That's a pretty good non sequitur there. I like that. That.
Semi-sequitur. Yeah,
but I like the outcome.
Certainly not what you would think on your intuition here. That's not what you would think, right?
It would have to be proportional, though, right? So even if you have, it wouldn't be total quantity.
It's the way they measure it. It's per miles driven. Is how they measure.
Okay, right. Okay. Yeah, that's interesting. I'm not surprised, but it's interesting.
Okay, so software update here. We're constantly bombarded. Those of us who participate in the technological world, we're constantly bombarded with information from different different mediums, and we basically need a software update to evaluate them. We kind of have this old outdated software, just if it's a book, it's good. If it's an article, it's trustworthy. We need to update that and be very critical about the sources of what we're reading.
Yeah, that's a tough one. Yeah, that's more time than ever. What's the truth default theorem that is studied in social psychology? One of the first things that popped in my brain here. It's really interesting. You would think, talk about maybe a non sequitur, but you would think that from an evolutionary perspective, we'd be really good at spotting liars. It would make sense to be able to, if someone is misleading us in a survival setting, how can we spot them and get them out? But we're actually really bad at it as as a general populace. So. Yeah, it's definitely a software update. It's actually, I think, an evolutionary advantage to kind of go along with who's ever leading the charge, even if they're kind of leading the group astray, which is interesting.
I think there's one thing to be said where I think a lot of the reason I think we might actually have that software already built in, but it's really hard to fire it, to turn it on when everything we read about is something that's going on away from my personal life. Everything you see that's happening is definitely not happening in your neighborhood, or probably isn't. It might have some tangential connection, but it's 99% of the time not happening in your backyard. Sometimes it might, the odd news story might apply to your city at large, but it's very rarely your personal life, and maybe that's why we don't turn that on. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, it's tough to. Yeah, our brains definitely aren't.
We have no skin in the game, whether it's true or not. Sometimes,
Right. Yeah, it's tough to get invested in. If you got invested in everything, you would just you wouldn't be able to do anything productive if you just follow all the news stories, what have you, on a given day. Yeah, I think that maybe we just need to stay focused on exactly our what we're doing. Maybe it's an anti-software update. I don't know, but
destroy the software. All right,
destroy the software. Hit me with a good magic wand. Oh wait, it's my turn. So I've been thinking about this one. Going back to, say, 70 or 80 years ago is really abnormal for someone to exercise proactively, just to do it, just for their health, what have you. At this point in time, if you said, I don't believe in exercise, I think it's actually bad for you, that would be really weird. So what's that thing today? Moving forward, and the magic wand is how we implement it.
Oh, okay. So I get the two parts here. So
you get to implement that one thing.
So Sam Harris talks about how he talks about mindfulness practicing is what exercise was to people back when exercise first became a thing. So I think that's probably
right. Completely stole the example from him.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that's the easy answer here. But I have a couple other ideas too. But what do you think of the mindfulness piece first?
Yeah, I think that having some sort of meditation or mindfulness, or I think it's more common today than it has been. Or just a few things, focusing on gratitude, having a few routines around it are becoming more common.
Okay,
probably
so
will continue
what I
to-
think will become probably the norm is batching your productive time. Like I think it's really naive to think that like the more you work, the better you work. And actually, the smartest people have figured out that you work best in small batches of time. So I think that's probably something that we'll definitely see, especially as workers get more control over the time they work.
That's a good point.
So I think that'll start becoming, especially for intellectual work. I know there's obviously like certain jobs where like it's literally just like the more you work, the better. But I think for things that require deep work, that's definitely going to become just like normalized. It's just like it's not how long you work, it's how well you work.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, I think I was just when you said that the first thing that popped in my mind was like, imagine like 2 generations from now, like the idea of like traffic, like folks just like, what do you mean? You just like slogged your way on, 90
You guys
minute
all are
commute
the
every
most.
day.
You're the most productive. Everyone's the most productive at 9 a.m. What?
I know, yeah. It's
It's like,
you,
no.
you just like drove into a wall of traffic and did that every day for how many years?
Exactly. Wild
That's gonna
times.
come off as weird in the future, but that's a
I
good
agree.
point there. Will, I like that. Well, that was a little tough. That was a good exercise, though. It was kind of tough. An exercise
Well, I think
in empathy, I suppose.
honestly, it felt like the first episode. So I think that speaks to.
Yeah.
I think that speaks to how just how well we've been doing with getting used to our segments. But
Yeah.
I think also our each other's segments is nice. It was nice for me to kind of step into your shoes for some of that. So
Yeah,
props.
no, I enjoyed that. That was good. Whoever thought of that was brilliant. I honestly can't remember who it was. If it was you or I.